What is the Great Tribulation? Explained with biblical timeline and current events. Are we living in the Great Tribulation right now? Many preachers boldly claim, this is the tribulation. Popular movies portray it as 7 years of chaos. Some even say the disasters we see today are proof it has already begun. But is that what the Bible really teaches? The answer might surprise you. Today, we're going to uncover the hidden truth about the Great Tribulation. Together, we'll explore. What exactly is the Great Tribulation? How long will it last? Where does it fit in the Bible's prophetic timeline? And most importantly, how do today's global events connect to it? Stay with me because what you're about to learn will cut through centuries of confusion, and it could mean the difference between fear and survival. The word tribulation carries a weight unlike almost any other biblical term. It sparks debates, sermons, movies, and endless speculation. For some, it's a nightmare of destruction. For others, it's already here. And for many, it's just a religious myth. But Jesus Christ himself spoke of the Great Tribulation as a reality, a period of history unlike anything the world has ever experienced. He wasn't exaggerating. In Matthew 24-21, he said, "For then there will be great tribulation such as has not occurred since the world's beginning until now. No, nor will occur again." Think about that. A period of distress worse than world wars, worse than famines, worse than pandemics. Something so unique that it will never be repeated. This isn't a vague warning. It is a prophetic marker in God's timeline. To understand it, we must trace the Bible's own outline, and then compare it carefully with the events unfolding in our world today. What is the tribulation? What exactly is the tribulation? Is it a mysterious period of doom and destruction as movies portray? Or is it something far more real, measurable, and already unfolding before our eyes? Think about this. Every single year, over 50 armed conflicts are raging worldwide. In 2024 alone, data from the Uppsala Conflict Data Program recorded over 180,000 battle-related deaths, making it one of the deadliest years since the Cold War. Add to this the record-breaking wildfires in Canada that burned more than 45 million acres, the strongest earthquake in Turkey in a century, killing over 50,000 people, and the ongoing food crisis where the UN reports over 333 million people facing acute hunger. These are not isolated tragedies. They are global tremors. Now pause and ask yourself, are these disasters just random, or are they part of a prophetic countdown? The Bible describes a unique period, a time so severe that Jesus himself warned in Matthew 24:21. "For then there will be great tribulation, such as has not occurred since the beginning of the world until now, no, nor ever will again." That word, Great Tribulation, isn't describing normal hardship. It signals the climax of this entire world system. But here's the striking thing. Before the tribulation explodes, the Bible says there will be clear indicators, signs in politics, religion, nature, and society that set the stage. And haven't we seen this? Since 1914, the so-called modern world has actually been an age of crisis. World War I and II together killed over 100 million people. The use of nuclear weapons in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945 introduced humanity's ability to destroy itself in minutes. The Spanish flu pandemic of 1918 killed 50 million in just 2 years, eerily echoing the global vulnerability we saw again during COVID-19. And morally, global surveys today show that rates of depression, anxiety, substance abuse, and suicide are skyrocketing. Yet despite all these warnings, humanity pushes forward with bold claims. We will fix the climate. We will build peace. We will colonize Mars. But the reality? Earth is spiraling faster into chaos than governments or science can contain. So here's the cliffhanger. If what we've been experiencing for the last century is merely the beginning of birth pains, then what happens when the contractions reach their peak? That, friends, is the Great Tribulation. And the Bible doesn't just warn about it. It actually lays out a timeline and sequence of events so we can understand where we stand today. The trigger, peace and security. Paul warned in 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The Bible gives us an extraordinary sequence of events leading into the Great Tribulation, and one of the most mysterious is this prophecy. whenever it is that they are saying peace and security, then sudden destruction is to be instantly upon them, just like birth pains upon a pregnant woman, and they will by no means escape. What does this mean? Paul doesn't say, when they have achieved peace and security. He says, whenever they are saying it. This isn't about the world actually becoming peaceful, but about a powerful global declaration. A moment where leaders and nations rally around a bold message. At last, we have found stability. We are safe now. But the prophecy warns that this very announcement becomes the trigger point for catastrophe. It's like the calm before a tsunami. The still air before a hurricane strikes. Think of recent times. Every world summit, every United Nations resolution often uses those exact terms, peace and security. Leaders frame it as the ultimate goal. But instead of solving humanity's problems, the Bible tells us this global proclamation will be the last warning sign before sudden, unstoppable collapse. This makes sense when tied to Jesus' timeline in Matthew 24. He described wars, food shortages, and lawlessness, but then said, "When you see these things occurring, know that he is near at the doors." The peace and security cry is the deceptive lull before the storm breaks. And the destruction that follows, Paul says it will come instantly, just like birth pains. Once labor begins, there's no going back. This prophecy is a flashing red light on the dashboard of human history. When world leaders unite their voices in this way, it will be the final signal that the Great Tribulation is about to ignite. The biblical timeline. Where does the Great Tribulation fit? The last days begin, 1914 and onward. The Bible identifies a definite starting point for the last days. 2 Timothy 3:1 states, "In the last days, critical times hard to deal with will be here." World history and prophecy converge on 1914, a year unlike any before it. That year marked the outbreak of World War I, the deadliest war the world had seen at that point. The start of the Spanish flu pandemic, 1918, killing an estimated 50 million people worldwide. A sharp rise in famines, revolutions, and global instability. Bible prophecy identifies 1914 as the time when Christ began his invisible heavenly rule. Revelation 12:7-12. And Satan? He was hurled down to the earth, sparking an era of intensified woe. From then until now, we have been living in what Jesus called the pangs of distress. Matthew 24:8. Wars, global disease, famine, violence. They dominate headlines. But even with all their intensity, the Bible is clear. These are not yet the Great Tribulation. The increasing birth pains Jesus outlined the signs, wars and reports of wars, food shortages, earthquakes in one place after another, pestilences and pandemics, a world spiraling into lawlessness, cold love, and despair. Just as labor pains increase in frequency and intensity before birth, these crises intensify as the end approaches. They are not the childbirth itself, but the precursor, the warning that the tribulation is near. The triggering event, Jesus gave a direct marker in Matthew 24:15. When you catch sight of the disgusting thing that causes desolation, standing in a holy place. This prophecy, echoing Daniel, points to the world's political powers described in Revelation 17:18, suddenly turning on Babylon the Great, symbolizing false religion in all its forms. This destruction will be swift and shocking. Churches, temples, religious institutions of every stripe will lose their influence and protection. Global leaders will act as the disgusting thing, tearing down what billions once trusted in. But it won't end there. After eliminating false religion, these powers will turn against God's people. Matthew 24:9 says, "Then people will hand you over to tribulation, and will kill you, and you will be hated by all the nations on account of my name." This wave of persecution against God's true servants escalates the crisis into what Jesus called the Great Tribulation. The Great Tribulation proper, once triggered, the tribulation becomes the most intense period of distress in all human history. Daniel 12:11-12 describes it as a 1,290-day period, catastrophic, accelerating toward Armageddon. Then, extending to a 1,335-day prophetic marker of survival and joy for those who endure. Jesus confirmed in Matthew 24:22. If those days were not cut short, no flesh would be saved. But on account of the chosen ones, those days will be cut short. This means the Great Tribulation will be divinely limited. Jehovah himself will intervene, cutting short the destruction to prevent the annihilation of humanity and to safeguard his people. The end result, Jesus went on to say, immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and all the tribes of the earth will beat themselves in grief, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send out his angels with a great trumpet sound, and they will gather his chosen ones together from the four winds, from one extremity of the heavens to their other extremity. But what exactly happens at the end of that limited tribulation period? Revelation 19 gives us the answer. Revelation 19:11-20-3 reveals the climax. Christ, as the rider on a white horse, leads heaven's armies into war. The present satanic system is destroyed. Its kings, military powers, and false prophets are wiped out. Then Satan and his demons are seized, bound, and hurled into the abyss, silenced for 1,000 years. This brings us to the 1,335th day of Daniel's prophecy, of which it is written, "Happy is the one who keeps in expectation, and who arrives at the 1,335 days." Yes, survival into God's new world is possible, and those who endure will be truly happy. Only after this does Revelation 21:4 promise the world's restoration. He will wipe out every tear from their eyes, and death will be no more. Neither will mourning nor outcry nor pain be any more. The Great Tribulation doesn't erase humanity. It erases wickedness and Satan's influence, preparing the way for God's kingdom to flourish. How current events line up. Now let's connect this to our world. Wars and conflicts. Today we see global wars, terrorism, and nuclear threats, exactly what Jesus predicted. Natural disasters, earthquakes, wildfires, floods, hurricanes. Luke 21:11 described them as part of the sign. Pandemics and disease, COVID-19, Ebola, and new viruses remind us of Revelation's pale horse bringing plague. Moral collapse. 2 Timothy 3:1-5 speaks of people being lovers of themselves, disobedient to parents, without natural affection. Watch the news, it's everywhere. Global fear. Luke 21:25-26 says men will become faint with fear. From climate change to financial collapse, fear defines our time. Yet all these, as terrifying as they are not the Great Tribulation. They are labor pains. They are warnings. The Great Tribulation has a specific starting point: the sudden destruction of false religion. That event has not happened yet, but every sign tells us it is coming soon. Hope in the Great Tribulation. Though this may sound frightening, the Bible assures us of hope. Matthew 24:22 says those days will be cut short for the sake of God's people. Isaiah 26:20 invites, "Go, my people, enter your inner rooms, and shut your doors behind you. Hide yourself for but a moment until the wrath has passed by." Psalm 91 describes God's protection for those who take refuge in him. Revelation 7-9-10 speaks of a great crowd who come out of the Great Tribulation and survive. So, while the world collapses, God's kingdom will preserve those loyal to him. And once Satan is abyssed, a new world of peace will dawn. Daniel 2:44 guarantees that God's kingdom will stand forever, never to be destroyed. So, what should you do with this knowledge? Jesus gave the answer at Luke 21:36. Keep awake, then, all the time making supplication that you may succeed in escaping all these things that must occur and in standing before the Son of Man. Don't just watch world events and panic. Watch them through the lens of Bible prophecy. Draw closer to God. Strengthen your faith. Prepare now, so that when the Great Tribulation breaks, you stand on the side of survival. If you found this video helpful, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with friends, family, and anyone searching for answers in these turbulent times. But most importantly, don't stop here. For deeper understanding of the Great Tribulation, God's kingdom, and how you can survive into the new world, visit www.jw.org. There you'll find free Bible study guides, prophecy explanations, and even meeting locations near you. This is Deep Truth Cipher, unlocking biblical secrets. Until next time, stay awake, stay alert, and above all, stay anchored in God's truth. Because survival and joy lie just ahead.